the front row in a suit,
Yes.
a haircut.
And then, I didn't get it right away. Where's Raymond? Okay, we're running late. Oh. Ready? Good evening. The regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council is called to order on Monday, February 25th at 7:01 p.m. Back to we're reconvening for open session, and there are no reportable actions taken during the closed session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza,
Here.
Councilmember Dutton,
Here.
Councilmember Amata,
Here.
Councilmember Coops,
Here.
Mayor Santinas.
Here. Tonight's invocation will be led by Councilmember Ray Dunn, and then the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 1776. Please stand.
Please bow your heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, thank you for all you do, and please bless our actions here tonight and assist us in building a strong and caring community. Bless our residents and help us take care of the less fortunate. May you lend us your wisdom to find solutions and for the issues that come before us. Let us make here in Bellflower decisions for the betterment of all our community. We thank you for the opportunity to help others and the opportunity to try to improve our way of life. We ask for your protection and blessings on our military men and women, and may they always return safely to their families. In your name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, cross colors. Color guard, present the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Those in uniform, Scout salute. Those not in uniform, right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two. Color guard, prepare to post the colors. Color guard, post the flag of the United States of America. Color guard, post the flag of the great state of California. Color guard, honor your colors. Two. Color guard, form the ranks. Color guard at ease, audience at ease.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Ray Dunn, and then Boy Scouts Troop 1776. Thank you. Let me start with announcements. We'll do the picture later after the presentation, as we have arranged with the troop master. It is that time of the year again, time to get ready for the Spring Basket program. The Bellflower Volunteer Center partners with community groups, schools, service clubs, churches, organizations, and residents to provide supplies for students in need. These spring baskets include much-needed items like school supplies, books, toys, balls, puzzles, toiletries, socks, and more. If you want to get involved as a volunteer, we would like to donate items, you can visit our website at www.bellflower.org. The deadline to drop off items at the Bellflower Volunteer Center is March 7, 2019. Bellflower Volunteer Center is located at 16610 South Clark Avenue. For more information, please call 562-804-1424, extension 2231. Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Volunteers are needed for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial coming to Bellflower. The city of Bellflower is honored to be the only city in Los Angeles County that has been selected to host The Wall That Heals in 2019. The Wall That Heals is a 3/4 scale replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. that travels with a mobile education center. The traveling exhibit honors the more than 3 million Americans who served in the U.S. Armed Forces in the Vietnam War, and it bears the names of more than 58,000 men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation in Vietnam. The Wall That Heals will be on display 24 hours per day from March 21 through March 24 of this year in 2019 at John S. Sims Park. The address is 16614 Clark Avenue here in Bellflower. For more information, please call 562-804-1424, extension 2267. And to sign up for volunteer opportunities related to this event, please visit our city website at www.bellflower.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Councilmember Dan Coops.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're interested in receiving the Bellflower e-Citizen newsletter, you can sign up on our website. This includes grand openings, special events, community news, health and safety information, pictures of the mayor, all this good stuff. To subscribe, visit our website at www.bellflower.org and scroll to the bottom of the home page and click on the e-Citizen newsletter. Enter your email address and click submit. You will receive the newsletter on a monthly basis. If you have any questions or need assistance, please call the number 562-804-1424, extension 2010. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Coops. Councilmember Ray Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. The next adult senior excursion trip to Harrah's Resort on Wednesday, April 10th from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. The fee for the excursion is $10 and includes deluxe transportation and $10 in free casino play. When you provide an email address, all adult and senior excursions, the registration and payment is accepted at the T-Main Thompson Park located at 14001 Bellflower Boulevard. Space is limited on all excursions, so register early. Register deadline is Sunday, March 24th. For more information, call 562-866-8614. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Councilmember Raymond Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been raining the last few weeks here, so again, one of the most common problems with rain barrels is the mosquito breeding. So here are a few tips to help you keep mosquitoes away from your rain barrel. First, cover the barrel, and then also all openings. Second, empty the barrels regularly. Third, keep the top clear of standing water. And lastly, use bacterial larvicides. Let's see, for concerns about mosquitoes or questions, you can visit the Vector Control website at www.glcvcd.org or call them at 562-944-9656. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hamada. We have one proclamation tonight, presentation. This month is a very special month. This month is the National African American History Month, and we're proclaiming this month as such. And tonight we have a fine young gentleman who will be receiving the proclamation on behalf of the Young Black Scholars Program. And before we go into the riser, let me just say something about this fine young gentleman. His name is Nahim Banks. He's a member of the Young Black Scholars Program. He's the student body president of Bellflower High School, and he's vice president of the Key Club. He's the founder of Teen Court. He's a member of the Academic Program of Excellence and the California Scholarship Federations. And in his spare time, if there's any left, he also plays soccer and runs track. So I'd like to invite Mr. Banks together with his mother, Sandra Witcher, grandmother Linda Rowland, and sister Sanaya Banks to join us at the riser. So I'd like to invite our council members also to please join us. He's busy, right? All right, let me just read this proclamation because this is my first proclamation as mayor. So I want to read it. In appreciation, the City of Bellflower proclaims African American History Month. Whereas in 1976, African American History Month was extended to a month-long observance during the month of February. And whereas African American History Month was originally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of the history of African Americans and to focus on the stories and teachings of those who helped build our nation, advance the issue of civil rights, and strengthen families and communities. And whereas communities across the nation organize events to commemorate and carry on this tradition. And whereas African Americans have made valuable and lasting contributions to our country, state, and city, achieving success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas Bellflower residents are encouraged to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and continue our efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Now, therefore, I, Sonny R. Santa Ynez, Mayor of the City of Bellflower, do hereby proclaim February 2019 as African American History Month, signed by myself, Mayor Pro Tem Juan Garza, Councilmember Ray Dutton, Councilmember Raymond Hamada, and Councilmember Dan Coops. So on behalf of the city, I'd like to present this proclamation to you. Would you like to say something? I'm sure you can say something, right?
I just want to thank the city for this award. I know I do a lot of stuff, so it's awesome to be recognized for everything. So, yeah, thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Frank, can you squat down a little bit? Balance it out. Thanks very much. They go, are you gonna go get him? I said, no, it'll be fine. He survived 2 nights, he was cold, it's free.
All right, thank you again, Boy Scouts Troop 1776, and Avilino, thank you.
Oh, no worries, guys.
See ya.
Hey, put us down for that veterans walk.
Okay.
This Marine will be there in a heartbeat.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, next item, public comments. Mr. Stewart.
This is the time set aside for the public to address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the city council should come to the podium, be recognized by the mayor, and state your name for the record. If you wish to address the city council on an agenda item, then you may do so by approaching the podium as we review that particular item. You'll be given a reasonable amount of time to address the city council.
Go ahead. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fine. My name is Jason Barnett. I'm with King of Causes Bellflower. I have 2 things I wanted to say real quick. One was I've never realized how much stuff you guys do. Really, like every event I've ever been at least 2 of you are there. Like you guys have jobs, you guys have a lot of stuff going on too, but you're here for our city, and I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
The second is I wanted something I realized that I'm really bad at is letting you guys know what's going on. Like you guys have partnered with us with the CDBG, and I need to start coming and giving you guys more updates because it's fair, and I really appreciate you guys partnering with us. In these 6 months, I'll keep it short. In these 6 months, we've hired unduplicated 9 individuals coming through our program. And one of them that I'm kind of going to highlight for a second has been homeless for over 10 years. And every week he was getting tons of tickets for dumpster diving. And since he's come to us, he doesn't get no more tickets. He's earning his way. He's connected with the Department of Mental Health, and he's getting help in that way. And he's looking like he's going to be housed here really soon. And I just really appreciate that you guys come on board and partner with us, that, you know, it is helping, you know, and I just really appreciate it. And he doesn't get no more tickets, and he even took care of his back taxes.
Oh.
And, for me, that's a win, right? Because, like, for me, for a long time, I wasn't a member. I didn't feel like I was a member of society. I was always taking, right? And once I transform my lives, that's what I get excited about, is when people come and want to be members of society and see all the different things that we're involved in. And the other thing is, the wall is so awesome that it's coming. So I've been trying to get, since my mom has passed away, I've been trying to get my dad out of the house. And this is the one thing that he said, I'll be there. And he's a Vietnam vet that has got 2 Purple Hearts, and like this is what's getting him out of the house, is coming to see the wall that you guys are bringing. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the reports. Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
I signed in earlier, John Paul Dreher, Bellflower. I want to thank new council member Amata for meeting with me last week. I want to thank Councilman Garza for talking with me today. And there's something in our discussions made me think that I need to do some research on something, and that made me to conclude that I need to discuss resolution number, I don't know if it's 1G, or my notes are kind of messy, sorry. I don't know if it's IG or 616-81, the city resolution. I'll give this to the city clerk to give to the mayor. There's some of my notes that I want to discuss with the mayor, because later on in the resolution, it talks about your duties under that resolution to improve community relations. And so I hope I can schedule a meeting with you. I had made a request earlier today, I left a message, and I'm hoping to meet with another council member this week and the other one next month. Thank you very much.
You can please call the city office and city manager's office, and they can schedule a meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Julia Emerson with the Southern
Julia,
California.
can you sign in for the record?
I did.
Oh, you did, thank you.
I did that before we started.
You're good.
I was
Oh.
trying to save you some time.
All right, good, thank you.
Thank you all. There have been several nice comments and questions, and I want to thank you all. I'm glad to announce that the pipeline work is completed for your parking structure project at last. And I personally have asked for an appeal of the question on the fee, and when I know more about that, I will instantly inform your staff. And I'm very happy to tell you something that you already know, which is that your staff is very careful with the public dollar, and they are paying good, close attention, and that's a good thing. So thank you for that. I'm also happy to announce that there's some new developments in renewable natural gas. This is new technology. We're very excited about it. Renewable natural gas is when you capture naturally occurring methane from dairies or from landfills or from, old corn stalks that nobody wants. You take trash and turn it into treasure. You take trash and turn it into the natural gas that can fuel your stove, that can fuel your water heater. It's really very exciting technology. In fact, it's so exciting, we're going to ask the Public Utilities Commission to allow us to offer a renewable natural gas rate structure, completely optional. If somebody wants to opt in, they could take advantage of it to promote additional renewable natural gas. Good for the environment. It probably will be more expensive than regular natural gas, but we expect it will be less expensive than electricity, so you can be good to the environment and save money. People that can use both electricity and natural gas have that balance and that opportunity for renewables, and renewables not just in the electrical world, but in the natural gas world. So we're really jazzed. We think it's a real game changer, and we think it's going to be a very nice addition to the services that we're offering to your residents and businesses right here in Bellflower. Thank you.
Wow, thanks for the good news. Wonderful.
My name is Carlos Lozano. Okay, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Carlos Lozano, a member and resident since 1996 of Bellflower. My daughter is Ashley Lozano.
Mr. Lozano, let me just kind of
Yes.
stop you for a moment. Before you continue, I just want to make an announcement of recent developments about the issue that you may talk about.
Okay.
I spoke with your wife a couple of weeks ago at length, and based on that discussion, the city manager and I had a meeting today with Mr. Pete Incorn, who is the president of the Miss Bellflower organization. And out of that meeting, we came to good conclusions, which I believe are very good. One is that they voluntarily are continuing the use of the Bellflower logo in their logo. So you will not see the Bellflower in their logo anymore. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is the city will not sponsor an ad in their publication. So we will not sponsor financially the Miss Bellflower at this time. So I'd like you to know that before you proceed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, Mayor, I understand you had a conversation with the director of Miss Bellflower pageant, asking him to fix the problems in his organization. Well, his fix was to kick Ashley out. Let me give you some things to think about. A princess was bullied and harassed and kicked out. Instead of mentoring and counseling her, they simply threw her out. I'm sure you remember her emotional speech she gave here. The president that was forced out, that you all know, and is very active and respected in the community, gets served with a cease and desist order from the board. What are they trying to hide? Now the queen gets kicked out without even a disciplinary hearing. Look, I'm sure if I got some buddies of mine and we put on a uniform that has a Bellflower patch on it and maybe a cap that says Bellflower on it and went around the city saying we represent Bellflower, which kind of happened with curb dressing people a few years ago, you would have all kinds of calls and complaints coming into the city Remove the pretty young girls from Miss Bellflower, and exactly what you have, a bunch of adults running around the city claiming they represent the city. The board of Miss Bellflower has gone unchecked for too long. I believe because of this, they have lost sight of their mission. All I'm asking is that the city council look beyond the girls and into the board itself, as you should with any nonprofit the city supports. Is the Miss Bellflower following state and IRS guidelines? Has the city looked into their past IRS 990 forms?
Let me cut you off that. I think you're going beyond, because as I mentioned to you before in the December meeting, plus your wife, we don't have any jurisdiction over Miss Bellflower. So what you're asking us to do is beyond our authority. We cannot check the IRS. We cannot
No,
check
you
all
could
this.
look into
We
the.
cannot. We cannot. We don't have.
It's a nonprofit organization, those,
You can do that yourself. We can't. Okay? We don't have any jurisdiction.
if you're gonna sponsor them, I think you have,
I just said we're not
Okay.
sponsoring anymore.
okay,
Okay?
okay.
So there's no more.
Okay.
There's no more tie.
Okay, but I kinda wrote this before. you-
Okay. Because
Okay.
people are listening here and we're just using so much time
Okay.
on this.
Okay, has the city considered, has the city looked at the bylaws? We can't seem to get copies of them. Has the city considered the nepotism on the board? This is a big red flag when it comes to nonprofit organizations. Has the city looked into how long the board members have served? Having a perpetual board and not addressing term limits in their bylaws is also a big red flag. Does the board show transparency and accountability? I'm sure some of you know that sponsors are already dropping their support for Ms. Bellflower. If you're on the fence about this, please reach out to the Ms. Bellflower board and ask them the questions about their status, their bylaws, their red flags I mentioned. Reach out to us and ask us questions. Ashley has never had a warning letter from the Ms. Bellflower board. She came to you as a concerned citizen, but the Ms. Bellflower organization kicked her out. And you know how they did it? Through a FedEx letter she received. The board didn't even have the common courtesy or compassion of doing it face-to-face in a proper hearing. That shows you how these girls are just treated as a commodity to be paraded around without taking the human factor into account. I believe that the president that was pushed out was a silver lining around around the Miss Bellflower dark cloud. The president tried to protect the girls from the bad storm, but once the silver lining was gone, the girls got hit with the wrath of that storm. I know some of you gentlemen think this is just a big waste of time, and I'm here just to showboat for the cameras, but it is dividing the community. Schools are getting involved, police are being called, girls are getting yelled at in the streets. This just might be a pebble in the city's shoe right now. Just don't let it become a thorn in its side. When Ashley came to me saying she wanted to speak up in front of the city council about what was going on with the Miss Bellflower pageant, I told her, Ashley, you're the queen and you only have about a month and a half left and you'll be done with those people. Just keep smiling and it will be all over before you know it. A few days later, she came back to me and said she was going to speak up at the city council meeting. Not only because of what was happening to her, but because of what was happening to the girls and ex-president, even after they were no longer with the organization. I said to her, okay, but you know you have everything to lose and nothing to win. She said, I know. And you know what? I'm more proud of her for speaking up than I was when she won that crown. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members,
Good evening, Anita.
city staff. I'm just here to thank you.
Can you sign
for-
in?
I am.
Oh, you did, okay.
I just wanted to give you an update on my concerns last month. I mean, at the last meeting with the things that were going on the street. So as of last Sunday, the trucks have moved out. They're moved over to the lot back on the street. That was, the reason they were there, I found out, is because the lot where they're being housed right there on Rosecrans in the corner of my street was being paved or gravelled. So that's done. And hopefully we'll get some progress down the road. I'm sure you're working on getting that road fixed. I just wanted to give you some update and thank you for everything you've done, all of you.
Very good, thank you.
Don't store your pen.
Mayor, council members, staff,
Good evening.
ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Butts, and I'm a local resident here. I have a couple questions. One's concerning Taco Nazo. Now, I guess they have a beer permit now or license, from what I'm hearing. I don't know. But that parking situation down there is atrocious. When it was approved by the Planning Commission, their hands were probably tied at the time, but I don't think they looked into it like they should have to begin with. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna get killed coming out of that parking lot. I come out of there twice last week from stopping at different facilities. Had a hell of a time trying to get out of there without getting hit, because you're on a curve there too. I thought maybe I'd pull out there and come down and visit Dan Coops there in his front window with the truck. That thing should never have been approved for insufficient parking to begin with. The planning department at that time screwed it up. Everybody in that planning commission screwed it up. But here's the thing that I brought up several months ago, and nobody's looked into it. I brought it up at a planning commission meeting. You were there, right? I asked, have we ever checked into the parking situation for property, whether it be for residential type, commercial type, or retail type, to see if there's restrictions? Well, no, apparently not, from what I can find out. That was set in place back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Nothing's ever been updated. Now, to me, the way things are going, and especially over the years, let's say when all of a sudden you've got these conglomerates coming in and pulling a big business for parking. Well, that happened, Bellflower, no big deal, just like it is today. To me, there should be revamping, looking at the parking situation, changing the scope as to what it was in the 50s and 60s to bring it up to the 21st century. Now, to me, if you have an owner of a property and he sells it, it's time to change the demographics to how that property can be utilized for parking. That gives you the door when it changes hands. Now also, if you'd add to your ordinance that if it doesn't change hands, but a new tenant moves onto it, you'd be able to do something about the parking situation. Right now, Taco Nazo's is a joke. You come over there, you try to get out of there, sooner or later, somebody's gonna get killed. Now, who's at fault? Everybody gets sued. The city gets sued too. They done their due diligence, I guess. But I think it's time to look into that. The way I was basically treated at that planning commission meeting several months ago was your time is up. So you're basically saying we're not interested in what you're saying, so don't worry about it. We could care less. That's the opinion I got out of that whole planning commission, your planning commissioners. So I'm upset over that. Now, the one thing that I don't understand, this food vendor carts. I guess Jerry Brown must have passed a law that made it legal for food vendors to run all over any city, I guess. I don't know. But you got these carts all over the place now. I don't know if you can do anything about it. Well, actually, I think you can, because I was coming out of Smart and Finals parking lot. There's one of those brand-new carts, real nice-looking cart. Here the guy's washing his utensils out in the gutter, so he can reuse them for whatever other menagerie he's serving out of that thing, and dumping all the nonsense right in the street. So, I think you got a problem with these carts. Plus, what you've done, what's happened, what the state has done probably, more so than the city, you've authorized the stealing of taxpayers' money. Because it's all cash. And if I'm one of those people with a cart, I'm not gonna give you any of my sales tax money. I'm not gonna give you a dime. So you've instituted blatant thievery in the market. Nothing short but that. But I'm just against these vendor carts, because what you're doing is putting legal places out of business that have to rent a space and operate out of and do things right.
Mr. Butts, were you here last month because we passed an ordinance tightening the food cart, because that was passed by Sacramento.
Yeah.
So we did what we can to tighten up the rules. So I wish you were here.
Well, something more needs to be done about it.
Well, we did everything we can under the
Well,
law.
no,
If you
yeah.
want it to be changed, please go to Sacramento.
Well, I think the city can do something about it.
We did.
What's
We
wrong?
did.
Why, what are you doing with your code enforcement people that ride around in those little cars all day? They see these shopping cart things. If they see the guy cleaning his utensils and dumping the trash and junk into the gutter, what's he gonna do? Just keep driving? Let it happen. So that's what I'm telling you. Something can be done. So don't give me this nonsense about Sacramento. Thank you.
Okay, any more public comments? There being none, we move on to item 11A. Mr. Stewart.
This is consideration possible action to consider zoning ordinance text amendment case number ZOTA 18-04, Bellflower Municipal Code BMC Amendment to Title 5 and read by title only. Wait for the reading. Introduce ordinance number 1370, an ordinance amending the Bellflower Municipal Code regulations regarding recycling centers and collection centers, including adopting inspection requirements. This item has been continued from January 28, 2019. And I believe we have Eliana back. Ms. Munoz will make the staff presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you is a brief presentation on zoning ordinance text amendment 1804 regarding recycling centers and collection centers. On January 28, 2019, the City Council directed staff to revise the definition for grocery stores, provide a zoning map for reference, and to provide information on the mechanics of reverse vending machines, for example, whether or not they were required to keep the caps on. In response to the City Council's direction, staff revised the definition of grocery store to incorporate minimum gross floor area and clarified that a majority of floor area to be occupied by food products. In response to the City Council's direction, staff verified that containers may be processed through a reverse vending machine with the bottle caps on. Lastly, at the request of the City Council, a zoning map is included as attachment H in your staff report for your review. Since the last meeting, the city received a letter from Cal Recycle which cited potential withholding of a grant based on the proposed ordinance. However, from the city's attorney's point of view, the city would only be denied grant money if it adopted land use regulations that prohibited any recycling facility center. The proposed ordinance does not prohibit any recycling facility center, but merely restricts the locations of collection and recycling centers. The staff's recommendation today is read by title only, waive further reading, and introduce the ordinance, or alternatively, discuss and take other action related to this item. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Munoz. Just for the benefit of the audience, this item was heard at the last meeting. It was continued into tonight's meeting. There were a couple of things that were asked at that meeting, and Ms. Munoz responded to those questions. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Garza, regarding your question on the definition of grocery stores. And also you answered the question about the bottle caps on the plastic to be inserted into the reverse vending machine. So with that, any comments, questions? Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
I'd like to consideration for possible action, zoning ordinance text amendment case number ZOTA 18-4, Bellflower Municipal Code Amendment to Title 5. And waive further reading and introduce ordinance number 1370, an ordinance amending the Bellflower Municipal Code regulations regarding recycling centers, collection centers, including adopting inspection requirements.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Raymond Hamada to introduce ordinance number 1370. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Aye.
Councilmember Dutton.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada.
Aye.
Councilmember Coops.
Aye.
Mayor Santenaz.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Munoz. Ms. Corpus, thank you. All right, there are no ordinances and resolutions for consideration for tonight. And we have 3 consideration items. Item 13A, Mr. Stewart.
This is consideration of possible action to authorize the city manager to execute agreement file number 822 with CityNet in a form approved by the city attorney to provide homeless prevention and rapid rehousing services. Mr. Hockman has a staff report for you.
Mr. Hockman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm sitting here with Matt Bates. As you recall, we met Mr. Bates some time ago, and Mr. Fieldhouse is out of state for this particular meeting, so Matt was gracious enough to fill in case there's any questions or clarifications that you need. I'm basically here just to kind of reintroduce our subject and maybe set a stage for those questions. You recall a number of months ago the city had a survey wherein homelessness was looked at as one of our significant problems, and which is not at all different from many cities in Southern California. And while we have a county, LA County system, largely fueled by Measure H, a number of good agencies that are working hard to work on this issue, there was council members and staff alike that thought, is there anything else in addition that we could do to help address this complex problem? And so among the agencies reviewed, CityNet rose to the top in terms of their prominence and ability, we thought, to help deal with this, not just in the same fashion maybe as our county system, but also maybe bring some new ideas, new methods, new resources into the equation so as to be not just duplicating effort, but also paralleling the effort for value added. We looked at this a number of weeks ago. At that time, it seemed a little too fast for some of our local providers as far as trying to figure out, can we work together and be cooperative in that effort? So council decided to take a step back, and as you know, there was individual meetings between CityNet and council members to try to figure out if that's indeed the case, that we will have value added if we go in this direction. And we basically had some discussion, and ultimately here we go again with bringing it for your consideration based on what we're finding out with direct contact, what we've learned from looking at other agencies, and also meeting with Kingdom Causes again to see, in fact, firsthand, will there be a cooperative effort? And all of these pieces seem to fall in place. It's the view of staff at this point that we wanted to reconsider this idea and see if, in fact, we can't work with CityNet. Now, we're looking at a 15-month initial contract. The first 3 months would be largely to get into town, get familiar with the system, and ultimately do a survey of our city's homeless population, not just a count, but gain a lot of specific data to our specific homeless individuals, and then basically that's the caseload. And where CityNet can probably shine, we hope, and this would be a little bit of the parallel, is maybe taking on some of those most chronically homeless individuals that we have the most trouble with within law enforcement community, the ones that actually generate the most complaints within a residential community. And if we could make some extra ground up on that area, that in fact would be success in my book. So that really is the essence of why I think we're here again, and I have no further comments, but questions are open season.
All right, let's go for open season. If you recall, one of the reasons I kind of asked for us to step back is that you're only providing us with one service provider at a time. And I was going to be more cautious, and I want some kind of comparison. Can you describe the other agencies that you reach out to, and how do they compare with CityNet?
Well, we spoke to Coast, who does some work outside of the county and is actually doing some work with Downey. And undoubtedly, there's some good work there, but based on discussions and so forth, I didn't feel like there was the same level of professionalism that we experienced in meeting with the city. And I've actually had, 4 meetings now, so I had a much better feeling that they brought more resources and more expertise to the table. United Way, we talked to Path and to see if there's any other agencies within the county system that could come and do additional work in Bellflower, in LA County, and it kept kind of getting steered back to, we have our county pipeline. There really didn't seem to be another entity that was going to try to come in and sort of add to. So I got more the sense that we needed to reach outside for some agency, and CityNet was clearly the winner in that sense, because a great deal of effort in North Orange County, as you all know, a number of cities, 10, 12 cities in that area, or somewhere in that range. Matt can speak to that. And some real good data on what they were able to accomplish, so that's why we thought they would be a good choice. The other reason is they would be new. They're familiar with LA County, but they would be working afresh here in LA County, and it felt good to be part of something new and maybe expand that to the region, where our area can then share and figure out ways to do homeless services even more comprehensively than we have been. So again, that's why CityNet's sitting here tonight. So.
Okay. The second question I have is, you mentioned about CityNet and Kingdom Causes working parallel. My question is, how do you avoid duplication of effort between the two agencies?
That sounds like an outstanding question for Matt.
For Matt, okay. Matt, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. Yeah, it's a great question, and I think that it really boils down to communication. So by coming in and engaging in a census and gathering a by name list, then hopefully we'll have a good understanding of the scale and scope of homelessness in the city, but not only that, demographic information and individual cases. And so part of it is just making sure that the resources that we would bring, if this were to go forward, would complement what Kingdom Causes Bellflower is already doing. So if they're already working with clients and they've already got a good game plan and a good case management plan and a good case management plan in place, and kind of a pathway to housing already established, then we'll supplement those efforts as needed, but we would prefer to work with maybe homeless clients that don't have that case management relationship, don't have that pathway yet established. It's my sense after just an initial analysis of the city, but also working in some meetings with Kingdom Causes Bellflower, that there's an additional opportunity for some of that additional sort of system navigation, housing navigation work to be done with additional homeless neighbors that maybe, I don't want to say that they're overlooked, but just based on the pure, the volume of work that it can take and the number of obstacles that need to be overcome, it takes a lot of work per person to get them from a place where they're unhoused into housing. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to engage clients, additional clients that currently don't have a strong case management relationship. And then I think, just maintaining a strong communication between the two agencies so that if there's ways that we can help that agency, ways that they can help us, that we can compare notes, best practices, ideas about, new learnings about when new resources come online in terms of new beds that might be available, shelter beds, transitional beds, permanent beds. Those kind of relationships, those kind of collaborative relationships can be really important and can help everybody accomplish more, because you just got more people that are paying attention, more people that are learning, and if you can communicate well, then there's a real synergy that can develop.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Any question for Matt or Joel? No. Mayor Pro Tem Garza?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to start off by just commending Councilmember Dutton and Coops for initiating the discussion back in December. I think it was really productive, and I think it's gotten us to a good point. I also want to thank the mayor for his leadership and ensuring that we took our time on this and ensured that we're in a position where we're a little more comfortable, a little more educated. We've absolutely done tours. We've talked to many people about the space. And also I want to thank staff for your patience and us pushing for so much information in such a short period of time. So thank you for that. Very good question. So I'm glad that he asked about the differentiation in roles. So thank you for answering that. I'm really excited about the census that's going to be undertaken so that our community gets a clear picture as to what it is exactly that's going on in our community with regards to our homeless population. So I'm really excited about the results on that. I know you've conducted that in other communities, so I'm really excited about seeing what we get here in Bellflower. So thank you in advance if you're approved tonight. I also want to ask staff in terms of if CityNet is approved tonight, I'm assuming this contract's going to be incorporated into our draft homeless plan that we're working on?
That's a great question. Absolutely. That's if this does go forward, it would be a pretty significant piece of what we're trying to achieve in town, and well worth having the plan incorporate that. So we would probably be looking to move the plan forward maybe next month if this does culminate here, so that we would then be ready to be well positioned for the next round of Measure H funding, which can be applied possibly service or possibly housing or possibly fill in the blank.
Perfect, great, thank you. And then two more questions. Have we by any chance received the recidivism report that Michael Castillo from the Homeless Initiative talked about last month?
No, I don't believe it's come. It was going to go through admin, and I'm getting the no signal.
Okay, so looking forward to seeing that whenever it comes in. And then lastly, just not necessarily a question, but more of a comment to my colleagues that I'm really excited about the prospect of this helping our homeless population in our city, of having our residents see the alleviation of this challenge in our community so that their quality of life improves as well. But I think I want to caution that as we move forward with this, I think results have shown that these results of efforts like this a lot of the times don't have a 100% result. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean that there's also other solutions that the system has shown are needed, like with regard to temporary shelters or interim housing, permanent supporting housing. So as we move along with this, I think that's a discussion that at some point in time we're going to have as a council. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the results of this is pan out for now. So that completes my comments and my questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Garza. Mr. Hamada?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I did want to echo again some of the comments from the Mayor Pro Tem. Again, thank you, Matt, for coming back and again working on the discussions with Kingdom Causes. And again, for the record, I am a volunteer board member of Kingdom Causes, so I'm a volunteer. So, and I just want to again thank you for again sitting down with Kingdom Causes to get things clarified. Staff, a question on the 15 months. So this contract's been fine-tuned, and again, thank you for working out any of the kinks and all the other details. And so it's now speeded up the process, so 15 months rather than the original 24 months. So the primary reason for that, you think there's more info than we know, or
Yeah.
to get things rolling, and we really see something clearer, and that we're able to wrap it up?
Well, actually, it was kind of viewed just as a more conservative approach, I would put it that way, where let's not commit to 24 months. Let's give the 3 months to kind of ramp up and analyze, get started, get settled, and then see what 12 months can produce. And then at the end of that 15-month period, a 24-month renewal can be done with a quick approval. So it was simply a more conservative, more fiscally conservative approach to see how well they perform.
All right, thank you. Matt, going back to your proposal, again, you mentioned that you also raised money to help take care of some of those expenses. Maybe just for information to the audience, what do you think ballpark you guys can raise, per month to take care of some of those incidentals and, some of the fees that pop up and things like that?
Yes, the context of that, of that comment, just for the rest of the council is, within the framework of the contract, we won't come back, CityNet won't come back to the city and say, okay, well, good news, we've got a person who is willing to, let's say, relocate to family out of state. The bad news is that we need, $220 to pay for their 2 bus tickets so that they can make that trip. In that case, we wouldn't come back to you and ask for that money. We would find other avenues through private fundraising, grants, community partnerships, et cetera, for those kinds of expenses. So the context is the contracted amount is all that you'll pay. We won't come back to you for those kinds of incidentals. In terms of the scale, some of it's volunteer work, and there's an IRS established value to that. In terms of and then some of it is cash donations. So I can say that we try to internally we try to keep that between $1,000 and $1,500 a month on a contract like this in terms of what we would want to have for our case managers to have as sort of to bridge the gap, to bridge the gap from the streets into a housed situation, whether that's a relocation or bridge housing in a motel, those kinds of things. That's our internal goal that we try to raise in a situation like this. We've got somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 a month.
All right. Okay, thank you, Matt. Right now, we're not considering the optional contract upgrade to 12.5, because one of the maybe so-called benefits of that is the form of a CityNet van. So is that still part of the picture, or is the van, is that something that maybe Kingdom Causes will do for you, or what do you envision with that?
The van is one of those things that, it depends on the need, right? So in some cities, there's a real strong need to, transport homeless neighbors from the streets to, let's say, a shelter. And very often, law enforcement can make that trip, but sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it's more expensive, frankly, to have 2 officers who are taken away from other responsibilities to make that trip and to do the transport and to sit with the client as they're entered into the facility and make sure that that's a place that they want to stay and confirm that they're going to stay there and that they don't get there and sort of have second thoughts. So in other circumstances, it's a good value to the city to have a CityNet provide that transportation because it frees up the law enforcement officers to do other things, and on an hour-per-hour basis, we're less expensive than law enforcement time. In this case, and in many other cases, we don't have that written when we don't have that written into the contract. We have a couple of different options. We don't transport in our own vehicles, but our staff would travel in their own vehicles to and from locations. We could use law enforcement. We could use Uber or other, transportation services. And again, that's where we would raise the money, as part of that $1,500, $1,000, or a month that we're trying to raise to pay for those kinds of trips, those kind of transportation trips, if that were an appropriate solution. Or we would, in some cases you can use a bus pass and people can make the transportation on public transportation. So we would explore all those avenues.
Do you report out on those expenditures with the city?
Correct.
On a monthly basis?
Yeah, so on a monthly basis, we would report back to you, the standard reports that we've shown all of you in terms of our activities and our results and our, what we've done under the terms of the contract, but we would also be able to provide the sort of ancillary expenses that we've incurred.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Just one last question. In regards to the portion of your proposal regarding number 3, support the coordination of the homeless activities, and you're going to encourage stakeholders like the churches, faith-based community, and so on, and then also discourage the well-intended activities. Just trying to envision that. So, like for example, the churches, the faith-based community. Are you looking at trying to do like a group meeting, or trying to reach out to each individual church? Just an example.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would sort of be multifaceted. In the process of our sort of understanding the lay of the land, not only would we want to hear from elected officials, city staff, but also other nonprofit organizations and other faith communities, just what they're doing. So we just kind of do a, you know, we just go to try to learn the lay of the land as best that we can. You know, our sense is that you have, you know, you've got Kingdom Causes that is very knowledgeable and very sort of connected to the faith community here. That would be an area that we would hope to partner with them to understand, you know, what exists in terms of assets and what exists in terms of maybe sort of perhaps faith communities that are not connected to sort of a broader conversation about housing, and then we would, you know, we would try to, you know, that's really where it starts. Is it just starts by showing up and trying to learn and asking questions and using that window of time when you're new and you can just try to learn from the different providers what is happening, and then it's you know, hearing from the stakeholders that we do know in terms of whether there are issues that need to be addressed, and if so, then kind of working together to formulate a game plan. And sometimes that can take the form of a community meeting if that's appropriate. Sometimes it can take the form of, in other communities we've done, you know, we've done meetings where, you know, the different stakeholders didn't know, you know, what others were doing, and so, you know, if that, my sense is that's probably been done here, but if that weren't done, that's something certainly that we could convene and that we could facilitate, so that people can see, you know, when is food available, when are emergency services available, what are the you know, the assets that exist, and then what are the gaps in the continuum of care, and how do we, you know, stop duplicating efforts in some areas and fill the gaps in other areas. And in our experience, you know, the majority of people are wanting to help. The majority of people that have a heart for homelessness and helping homeless neighbors, they really do want to be part of a broader solutions-oriented conversation. In most cases, I would say, I don't know if this is true in Bellflower, but in most cases, people are not engaged in that just because they don't know what other people are doing. It's just a lack of knowledge. And so if it were appropriate, certainly we could convene those kinds of meetings to where that knowledge sharing could take place and people could learn from each other and begin to understand what are the resources, what are the assets, and then what are the gaps in terms of homeless services here in the city.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hamada. Mr. Coops?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. When you presented this program to Mr. Dutton and I back in December, there were certain things that really impressed us. And I want to kind of go over some of the things that may have not been mentioned so far. And one of the things that I think Ray and I were really impressed with was when you suggested that the chance and the probability that we would reduce calls for service having to do with homeless situations by 10% in our city. Do you still stand by that possibility?
Well, I think, yeah, again, the context of that comment is we have achieved that in other cities. You know, those kind of things are beyond our control, so it's difficult to commit to them. But
it was,
the
you
context
brought it
is
forward like it had been done.
It had been done, and I think the reason it's done is that one of the things that we can identify through the census and through conversations with the city and the city staff and the different departments that interface with homelessness is those particular homeless neighbors that are generating the most calls for service, that are generating, you know, the disproportionate drain on public resources that are intended for homeless neighbors. And statistics show that if the top 5% of homeless neighbors in any kind of municipality, you know, draw 20, 30% of the resources, even more in some cases. So the idea is that if we can begin a case management plan on some of those, that top 5%, then we can dramatically free up resources for others.
No, and I thought, you know, we're all sitting here based on public safety. Mm-hmm. That's the basis on which we always make sure that when we run for office or we promote, to keep the city safe. So if we can free up resources that allow for other constituents of Bellflower to receive quicker response time because they're not being bogged down by some of these other items, that's a wonderful possibility. When we also spoke about the last time you were here, and we'll be honest with you, Ray and I were so enthusiastic about having the potential of you be a part of our community that we put it out on the table as quick as we could to get a vote as quick as we could, because we wanted to make sure that you guys didn't evaporate because you have other places to work. But more importantly, we knew the severity of the problem after having received the census data, that we were really in a quandary as to how the public was perceiving their environment in our city as being, the homeless situation was number one. They didn't care so much about the parks or the streets or the lighting or the council or the churches. They cared about the homeless. And so that's why we put it as a priority when we received the chance to talk with you. One of the things that came out of that meeting, and again, I'm going to take some responsibility for this because I think that we somewhat put Kingdom Causes on, that was intimidating to them to think that we were bringing another source. And I would like for you to explain how Brad or yourself has been able to invest your time with Chrissy and Kingdom Causes to know that it's a symbiotic relationship and not one of contention.
Yeah, it's a fair question, and you know, we heard their concerns, both you know, that they expressed here in public comment and then in correspondence offline too, in terms of, you know, things that they were concerned about. And I think that there's, you know, there were a couple of themes that emerged. One was sort of this idea of duplication of services. One was sort of, you know, was this going too fast, and in terms of the you know, the fiscal responsibility from the city's perspective in engaging in a 24-month contract. So those are some of the themes, but I think that at the heart of it was really just a concern, you know, at least this is my, you know, my perspective of the meetings that I engaged with Kingdom Causes Bellflower, was just a concern that we would do right by homeless neighbors in the city. I think that they, you know, they have a large investment and a long-term investment in homeless neighbors here in the city that is absolutely commendable, and I think we share the same sort of concerns. We want to do well by the residents of the city, and I think there was maybe a concern that if we came in and you know, engage people in housing situations that weren't appropriate for them, that they would maybe be gone for the city for a short period of time, and then they would return back, and then there would be an opportunity missed or a bridge burned or a sense that maybe that the system hasn't served them. And so I think that we welcome you know, we share that passion to serve homeless neighbors in the city with excellence, to connect them to resources and to housing situations that are going to be beneficial for them, both in the short term and in the long term, and connect them to, you know, even if it's a temporary situation, to connect them to longer term situations that are going to be more and more stable, more and more permanent, more and more appropriate. So we share that, and I think that, you know, I think we're open from a transparency and from an accountability standpoint, not only to the city but to Kingdom Causes Bellflower, to show the work that we're doing, and you know, if there is concern that you know, particular clients or particular scenarios aren't serving homeless neighbors well, that we are open to that conversation, because we share that same passion, that same goal, and we think it's entirely reasonable for an agency that has such local commitment and history to, you know, to partner with us. And I think that there's a sense that, you know, maybe there was a fear perhaps that we would come in and do things our own way and do things a new way and not listen, and certainly that's not our intention. And so we've communicated to them privately, and I would like to communicate publicly that we welcome that dialogue and that conversation, and we welcome the input, because we think that there's wisdom there, and we really believe that should this go forward, that there can be a situation where their efforts are benefited along with our efforts for the benefit ultimately of homeless neighbors in the city, and by extension the city, you know, neighborhoods, residents, businesses, parks that are impacted by homelessness in the city. So we welcome that input, we welcome that oversight, we welcome that accountability.
When you do have the chance to call a meeting, and Brad suggested initially that he would invite all the churches in Bellflower that are offering aid to the homeless, that he would try to get them all on the same page as to what is productive and what isn't. And when you do call that meeting, I think it'd be appropriate to make sure the city staff knows that, so that at least one or two of us as a city council can be in attendance to show our endorsement of what has been suggested, so that it's just not staff came up with this. It's something we own,
Right.
and we are putting it a high priority. So keep in communication if this goes forward with city staff as to when you might have those kinds of meetings. And Brad also said he was going to reach out to the law enforcement and Public Works and the Public Safety and anybody else that's a group of people in Bellflower that would be engaging the homeless on a regular basis, so that they would all know the program that we're all trying to pull together to try to get the best benefit for all.
Correct.
So that's all I have, but I would hope that at the appropriate time, when you open up to public comment, that you invite the director of Kingdom Causes, Chrissy, to
Absolutely.
make sure that she can hear.
If she wants to.
If she wants to, but
Yes.
make sure that that's available.
Oh, yeah,
Because I'd really like to
definitely.
hear how things are going with the relationship with with the CityNet.
Great, thank you, Mr. Coops.
Thank you.
One other question. If the city council authorizes this agreement to go forward tonight, when can you start?
We could start,
Actually, I don't want to cut you off. I put in the agreement the end 25th, I think, of March, because Brad had mentioned a couple of hires that needed to take
Right.
place, and so I just gave you a few weeks to get
So
started.
not March
so-
1st, because in the agreement, and under the terms, on Section 8, the term of the agreement will be from March 1st, 2019. So you want to change that to April 1st?
March 25th was what
25th.
was in one part of the agreement. Maybe it was,
Well, it's on page 3.
might be a typo. March 25th.
April 1st. And that's a good date, because if you think about April 1st, that gives you 15 months, because right now, it's showing 16 months. I was wondering if there's a 1-month bonus. No, in terms of the term, it's 16 months. So until you change it, I was wondering if there's a 1-month bonus for
no,
each
I was going to
city.
say April 1st, so
Okay, April
we're on the
1st.
same page.
Very good. Thanks for the clarification.
I'd like
Yes,
to make a
Mr.
comment.
Dunn.
Yeah, you guys drove some words out of me tonight.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
When this topic was brought up several months ago, it was the intent, as my vision, due to what I see in town, and the complaint is to attack the homeless population in the way of what our community sees when, say, they have a job out of town. They leave their bedroom community, they go to work. They see the same people at the same corners, same liquor stores, day in and day in while they go to work. And then when they come back home, and they see the same thing. It seems that it's gotten in a way that certain individuals, homeless individuals, and there's probably only 15 really key players that really makes the community tarnished in a way that, whether it's mental health or the filth or what follows them, and it's the visual effect on our community. And that's why I really believe that we had the survey that we did. It's what we see every day. The organization Kingdom Causes that we've been talking about does an excellent job of helping people that want help, relocating and matching them to services. It's the individuals that the law enforcement don't do much for, or they struggle to do something with them. They don't want help. Councilmember Coops and I sought out CityNet for this gap that we have in the system to try something. We all know that we were taxed with Measure H a few years ago, and we haven't seen any of that money yet. And with no way to handle the visual effect of our homeless, the need of so many homeless that are a problem on our society, that money's not coming to help it. And to me, $150,000 to start something, to try something, is a drop in the bucket to what our community is paying in Measure H. All the grant monies that we give to funnel through in Kingdom Causes, the money that they get on their own without the city, and to do the wonderful work that they need. I almost call it like the 80-20 rule. There's 20% of the people that want help, 80% are the detriment from the society. That 80-20 rule goes in with society. 20% of the people really take care of the 80%. It's what 20% of the people do 80% of the work. It's a rule it's been around for a long time. And I think this is another tool in the toolbox to try to combat the problems that we have in our town, and I really think that there will be an effect and a noticeable effect, and I would like our residents to understand, and let's see what happens in the next 6 months if this goes through. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And you'd like to invite the public for any comments? Please come forward.
Well, since you invited me. So Chrissy Padilla-Berkey with Kingdom Causes Bellflower. I wanted to start by saying thank you to Mayor, council members, staff, and also to Matt. The December meeting, if I'm really honest, that was really hard for us, but I don't regret it at all because I've been so impressed with the willingness to look deeper into the super complex issue of homelessness in Bellflower and in LA County. And I've seen a lot of hard work go into looking into different long-term solutions. So I wanted to say thank you. I know you guys have all been in multiple conversations trying to learn more. So, you know, in December, we had brought up a couple, we were okay with CityNet coming in. There was just a couple things that we wanted you guys to look into, and all of those were done. Also wanted to say thank you to Matt, especially the last part of what you shared. That means a lot for us, and we do look forward to partnering if you guys decide to bring CityNet in. And you have our commitment to do what's best for not only our homeless neighbors, but for the rest of the residents here in Bellflower. So I wanted to say thank you, and thank you for the invitation to speak.
Thank you, Chrissy. Anyone else? Okay, so anyway, before I call for a motion, I just want to make a comment that, you know, I worked in Skid Row for, I think, 12 years ago, and the homeless situation today compared to 12 years ago is very, very different. I saw a lot of instances where, and I think there's a lot of mental health issues these days, because back 12 years ago, more of our clients, when I used to work in Skid Row, more of our clients were victims of abuse, both either alcohol, drugs, or domestic abuse. But these days, I see a lot more of mental issues. And that's one thing that I noticed. The other thing that I noticed compared to the homeless population years ago is that the homeless these days are more aggressive than 12 years ago or 15 years ago. Back then, it's just basically a typical panhandling, and that was about it. You give them $1. These days, they're more on your face. So I get it when we did a survey, and the survey came back that that's the main concerns of our residents. I get it, because I see it happens. I mean, they're basically, that's why there's a law that a panhandler cannot ask, I think they have to stay beyond 10 feet or beyond of an ATM machine. And that's for a good reason, because you don't want to be withdrawing money from ATM machine and here's a guy or girl right next to you asking for money. So I get it that we need to address this issue, and I'm glad that Councilmember Coops and Councilmember Dunn initiated this dialogue with CityNet, and I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Garza and Ray Hamada to kind of step back last December, and I think we are in a better place today, and I would say that I am more confident. If we were to go forward with this, I think I'm more confident that CityNet will do a good job. Okay. So with that, gentlemen, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Consideration possible action to authorize the city manager to execute agreement file number 822 with CityNet in the form approved by the city attorney to provide homeless prevention and rapid rehousing services.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Coops, seconded by Councilmember Hamada, to authorize the city manager to execute file number 822. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Aye.
Councilmember Dutton.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada.
Aye.
Councilmember Coops.
Aye.
Mayor Santinez.
Aye. Congratulations, Matt, and we look forward to working with you. All right, Mr. Stewart, item 13B.
This is consideration possible action to reappoint city council members to the ad hoc subcommittee for the formation and structure of the Business Improvement District for downtown Bellflower. Mr. Delalonga is here to make staff report for you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Good evening,
Mayor.
Honorable Mayor and members of...
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oh, time out. You're too quick.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Councilmember Dutton.
going to recuse myself from this item because of the fact that I own property on Bellflower, within the 500 feet of Bellflower Boulevard.
Okay.
And I have the same concern. I have property within 500 feet of the district discussed, so
Okay.
I will be recusing myself as well.
So council members Dunn and Coops are recusing themselves on item 13B. So we are running on 3 engines right now. Oh, 3 cylinders, 3 cylinders. All right, Mr.
Okay.
Delalonga, now,
All
it's
right.
yours.
Well, good evening, Mayor and remaining council members. The Business Improvement District, or BID, subcommittee was formed on November 27th, 2017, at which time Mayor Schnabeleger and Mayor Pro Tem Dutton were appointed. Since then, progress has been made in the formation process of this bid. With guidance from the subcommittee, not only have the boundaries of the proposed north and south bid area been established, but an initial focus group meeting with key stakeholders was held late last year, with a second focus group meeting that is scheduled for this Wednesday evening. However, now that the proposed bid boundaries have been determined, Councilmember Dunton, as you know, has been conflicted out of participation in the subcommittee, and with the passing of Councilmember Schnabeleger, 2 vacancies exist on the subcommittee. So after Wednesday's meeting, staff will return to the council with a full update on the whole process of the BID formation and the consideration to direct staff to begin the public process to form the bids. So staff recommends the city council now appoint 2 members of the city council, remaining city council, to the ad hoc subcommittee for the formation and structure of a business improvement district for downtown Bellflower, or alternatively discuss and take other action related to this item. And that concludes my report. I'm here for any questions.
Yes, so far, how many of the merchants are engaged in this business improvement district?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point
Not
yet.
yet.
We've used a small focus group of about 5 to 6 of the business and property owners on Bellflower Boulevard to try to gauge the feel for it, and to find what we're trying to do is hone the issues that we're going to market the business improvement district to focus on with the greater community of the Bellflower Boulevard merchants and property owners.
Okay, for the benefits of the audience, what is covered, what area is covered by the BID? Is it from railroad track all the way to Rose, or?
We're actually going from Alondra Boulevard
Alondra.
all the
Okay.
way to the city boundary in the
City
south.
boundary,
Yes.
okay.
And we're looking at splitting up into 2 business improvement districts, one for the north Bellflower Boulevard, north of the freeway, and one for south, because we feel that there is a significant difference in the needs for the 2 areas.
I see, okay, very good. Any question for Mr. Delalonga?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No, no question.
Okay. I'd like to volunteer to this business improvement district.
I was going to also extend my participation. I've been able to maybe do some homework already. I did have an opportunity to attend the Bixby Knolls Business Improvement Association meeting last Thursday, and I know the executive director there. He's also on the Economic Development Commission with that city, and he's offered a visit to his area, and want to chat it up, that we might be able to learn something.
Sounds like a great resource.
Okay.
So
Mayor Pro Tem Garza?
just for clarification, so this would be for the bid from the 91 freeway north to Alondra, correct?
This would be for both
This would be
of
for
the
both.
bids,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, great. So I have no questions or comments, but if you would like me to make a motion, I can. I don't know if we need that, but I'm more than happy with both of you gentlemen being on the ad hoc. So.
That would be appropriate.
Perfect.
If you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a
okay, go
motion
ahead.
to appoint Mayor Sunny Santa Ynez and Councilmember Raymond Hamada, I see Ray, to the ad hoc subcommittee for the formation and structure of a business improvement district for downtown Bellflower.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garza, seconded by Councilmember Hamada, to appoint the mayor and Councilmember Hamada to the Business Improvement District. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza,
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada,
Aye.
Mayor Santenaz.
Aye. All right. Let the record reflect that members Dunn and Coops are rejoining the council meeting for tonight.
Dan and Coops?
Danton and Coops. All right. All right, Mr. Stewart, item 13C.
This is consideration and possible action to direct the city manager to establish deadlines and schedules for processing 1 new MCBP permits. There are, for example, 2 available dispensary MCBPs, 2 reconsideration applications, and 3 such additional direction regarding MCBPs that may be desirable.
Hey, Mayor?
Mr. Dutton.
If we could, I'd like to pull 14G from the consent calendar because it's kind of related to 13C, and we can kind of do them together if that would be possible.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, and before we proceed, I'd like to recuse myself from this item due to a conflict of sources of income because of my employer's client relationship. So.
Okay, let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Garza is recusing himself on item 13C. Mr. Stewart?
I think
Ms. Silver's ready. All right. Fire away.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This evening, I'm bringing forward item 13C. This item is looking to give staff direction to establish deadlines and schedules for processing new MCBP applications. For example, the 2 available dispensary permits, also how to deal with reconsideration applications. On the screen now is an overview of the current conditional use permit and medical cannabis business permittees. And as you can see, there are a total of 10. Currently, there are 2 dispensary permits that are available. At the last council meeting, City Council approved Resolution 19-13, allowing CUP permittees that were not renewed MCBP to submit reconsideration applications with a renewal fee of $6,357. It also allowed current CUP and MCBP holders that have a current cultivation or manufacturing use to apply for an additional permit for distribution for a fee of $6,357. And the resolution increased the total number of MCBPs to allow for additional testing MCBPs and distribution MCBPs at the current location. These are all of the current locations that have conditional use permits. At this time, staff is looking for direction in deadlines, schedules for acceptance of applications, recommendations to council, and presentations to council.
That's it?
Oh, you want to?
That's for that item, and also 14G was pulled with this item as well.
Correct.
So item 14G, which was a resolution restating fees that were previously approved in a resolution to medical cannabis business permits related to medical cannabis permits. Here are the fees that were stated in that. These are the fees related. There's the application fee for both the CUP and MCBP for $28,500. The relocation request for $3,041.51. A renewal fee for $6,357, along with an additional permit fee for those that have current active CUPs for $6,357, and a testing laboratory application review fee that was established at the last council meeting for $12,873.12.
Ms. Tober, can you explain about the renewal fee of $6,357? Is that, when is it collected?
This fee is collected annually when renewal requests, this fee was established to be collected when applicants that were not renewed submitted their renewal request.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the 6357 is collected when existing permittees seek to have their permits renewed. So at the end of each year, right before the permits expire, which is December 31st of each year, those permittees that have active MCBP permits file an application for renewal and pay the 6357. Additionally, the last meeting that the council considered the matter, it decided to allow the 6357 to be paid for additional permits. So if there's a permittee that holds a permit and they wish to, for example, seek a distribution permit, they would file an application for a distribution permit and pay the 6357. All of these are application fees. These are not the annual fees that are paid by all permittees for administering their permits or for paying for the educational fund.
So the renewal is annually?
Correct.
So that should be in the annual?
Well, it's annual only if, that assumes that the existing permittee wishes to renew their business permit. So it would only be collected at the time that that application was received. And I don't want to confuse the issue between the annual fees, which are charged simply for having the permit, so that the city is reimbursed for administering the permit, which are up to here on the annual fees.
Correct, yeah. Because I was trying to kind of delineate between the annual fee and as they occur.
So these are the annual fees. The initial amount was $25,000 when the council first adopted the administration fee. That's adjusted on an annual basis upward based upon CPI. So this year, well, actually, it was this past year and this year, it's $26,000 for the annual permit fee. And then in addition, each permittee must pay the $5,000 for the education fee, and that's per permit that they have. So there is a differentiation between the annual fees, which are required just to hold your permit, versus the application fees that you pay at the time that you apply for a renewal of your existing permit or for additional permits or for the CUP and permit, those types of things.
Okay.
So can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Or a comment? So what I just got out of that, if you're an existing CUP holder and you have a permit, medical cannabis permit, and annually it's renewed, and you want to renew that, you have to pay the $6,357 to renew it, and then if it's renewed, then you pay the $25,000 plus the $5,000.
That's correct, and that would be per permit. So if you had, for example,
per permit, exactly.
You had 3 permits, you'd be actually paying $26,000 3 times plus the $5,000 3 times just to hold the permit.
Okay.
That's clearer now.
All right, very good.
Yeah. While we're talking about that, since it's fresh in our mind right now, when we get there and whatever we decide on tonight, my intention is if a permit, and we've had precedence for this, if a permit is given out not a whole 12 months, say it's shorter than 12 months, that it would be prorated.
Yeah.
From the time of the
permit, the $25,000, $5,000, yeah, not the renewal fee. The renewal fee is a renewal, but say it's only worth 10 months, you would prorate it to 10 months. Yeah,
You look, that's the 25,000?
25,000 and the 5,000. Right. Because those are annual permits, and if they don't get their annual use of it, they're not making any money on the whole 12 months. There's no way they should be penalized for that permit to pay the permit 12 months, and they can only use it 10 months or 8 months or whatever they have.
You want to do it for the education too, the 5,000 education as well? Okay.
Yeah.
Based on the month or based on the exact days?
The application approval, the permit approval.
We can do it on days.
Yeah.
Based on days?
Yeah, just in days. How many days?
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, when you decided to do this in last August, do the proration, it was based upon days, so.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, keep it the same, because I know that we did have a precedence already.
Okay, anything else?
But,
Any
yeah,
questions?
Yeah. I do have one comment that on this item for consideration. It seems that we approved it 2 weeks ago and had staff write it up to bring it back to just for
MCBDs that were not renewed.
that were not, yeah. The medical cannabis permits that were not renewed. I would like to amend this and have it for anybody that has an existing CUP in the last 18 months, not just denied renewal or not renewed. I would
That could apply for any available MCBD.
Yeah, that anybody that has a CUP and in the last 18 months that can reapply or apply for any existing permits that we've already had a CUP for that didn't get a permit before.
Okay.
Pretty much the same players that we had in December of 2017 that didn't get permits. Now that it appears that we have 2 other permits.
You want to clarify, just back to the beginning for 18 months, or all the, just
Or
period?
back to the beginning, I
Okay.
guess, yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
however you
clarify.
want to do it.
Yeah.
I just kind of went with 18 months because that's how this other was written for within the 18
Well,
months
we
of,
could do 18
yeah.
We could do 18 months.
But, I mean, you do that because we may be a month before this comes back to us too, so it's kind of hard to put a timeline on it.
And under that scenario, how many CUP holders will qualify to apply?
I think it's
The
up to
current
5.
list.
5?
That current.
Counting the person.
So
Yeah,
the
right
fi-
up here
the
on
5.
screen.
Is it 5? No, that's okay.
See,
No, these are all the current,
because Medicine Woman
CUP.
has a dispensary already.
Right.
right, and,
There's 2 dispensaries open in distributions, right?
yes,
And
and
EEL
test,
Holdings.
yes.
Yeah.
EEL Holdings and the Medicine One both have
And Medicine Woman.
dispensaries. Correct.
Okay.
But theoretically could apply for distribution permits, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Medicine Woman has a distribution permit, but EEL Holdings could apply for a distribution
Yeah.
permit.
Another option is I just come up with the CUP side of it. Another option could be if we decided that we could have any existing permit holders, which they would have, if they have a permit, they would already have a CUP too. No?
No, I think you had it right before.
Because the dab
Well,
shop doesn't have
They have to have
Correct.
CUP,
Yeah,
right?
the dab shop has a CUP, but no permits.
Correct. It's really your call.
And the Bellflower Medical Wellness is not around it. Or, they don't have, they had CUP on,
They
at the
do.
old Ming site?
Yes,
Oh,
But no MCBP.
correct.
yeah.
I would stick with the MCBP.
Yeah, stick with the permit. That's where I was going. It's, I would just put it out to my colleagues there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna backpedal a little bit. I think it should be, anybody with a medical cannabis permit already.
Okay.
Because they went through a more stringent.
And if we're going to
To get
do
one.
so, I think you ought to consider some conditions, which you would, especially on the dispensary side. I think this issue we worked out last meeting, but the dispensary side, since there's 2 vacant licenses, did you want to add any additional conditions onto those, the reapplication for a dispensary license? We set up the 3 last time.
Set up the.
Randy, you want to
Yeah.
read those, the 3 conditions we did last time, see if that's where they want to start from?
Those are the improved aesthetics, improved tax revenue
Yes, right.
opportunities,
Yes,
and accelerated schedule for opening.
yes.
Are you talking about in the actual application or?
During the application, I think you'd want some kind of a minimal guaranteed revenue.
See, the basis of why we're here tonight is, I think we were all very disappointed in going this almost a year and 4 months, and we have none open. And certain entities have seemed to be dragging feet or whatever, and I think that's what we decided. We thought we'd try to find someone better that could and put up. And so with that, condition it in a way, if these permits are awarded, that within so many days, they are up and running, or there's a daily fine until they open.
You're
So
looking at a hard start date with liquidated damages.
Mhm. Yeah, hard start date with liquidated damages.
you're-
And that could be up to the applicant.
It's up to the
When
applicant to
applicant
state,
says I can open in a certain day, and then when they come before us, we're giving them out, and if they can open and they meet they have the adequate facility and the adequate numbers, they can be fine.
And you
know,
want to, I think you want a guaranteed revenue source too.
Yeah.
What they think they're going to make,
Yeah,
and
and if-
they'll
and if-
guarantee it.
And that would be the liquidated damages would be equivalent to the revenue that we're not getting for
We
them
do a-
not being open.
Do a daily proration of the.
Well, the revenue we're expecting is $1.5 million
No,
a
what-
year, right?
See, well,
For
what
all of
happened
them,
is you're taking, as you're comparing the applications coming in, but for the two dispensary permits, I think what I'm hearing is that each applicant would state, I can open by X date and I can generate
Right,
X amount of dollars. And I'm willing to guarantee that two ways. One, I'll pay a liquidated damage if I don't open by the hard start date that I said. I'll pay the prorated annual guarantee that I said I would deliver, starting on the hard start date, whether he opens or not. And then, at the year's end, if he guarantees his revenue rate to the city, and if he doesn't make that revenue rate, he makes up the difference to the city at the end of the year.
Well, the revenue rate we're expecting is from the very beginning is $1.5 million.
I understand, that's our
That's what I'm getting at.
estimate. That
So,
is our estimate, but the issue is coming in, we don't know what the market dictates coming in. And we're gonna evaluate, I believe what we're gonna do is make it a competition, and we're gonna evaluate the two remaining dispensary permits on the ability and the guarantees that are willing to be stated by the applicants, whatever that turns out to be, whether it's over or under our estimates.
do we need to peg a specific amount? Because I have something
I
in
don't
mind.
think you can. It's up
We
to
can't.
the market to dictate that. I think what we're looking for is to try to get the best and to see how much we could guarantee from them, how much they would be willing to guarantee they'd provide.
So one that fall under the improved tax revenue opportunities already? In terms of the three?
I would say, I would be very specific in stating that we are looking for a hard start date. We're looking for a guarantee that you will reimburse, and then, well, let me back up. In addition to the hard start rate, we're looking at what revenues, what your gross receipts would be and what your revenues to the city would be. And then we're looking for a guarantee of that rate at year's end that they said they could deliver. And two, if they don't make their hard start date, they would pay a liquidated damage to make sure that we were whole. Because you're awarding it based, if they say they could start it in 2 months, and you get 60 days out, they're not close to starting it, well, they lied to you. So what you're gonna do is hold their feet to the fire, make sure they give you a realistic start date. And then if a guy says, well, it takes me 8 months to start, but a real entrepreneur says, I can get this done in 4. So you're gonna go for the guy that's got the guarantee of the shortest start date and the highest yield on what he can do. And I think that's how you evaluate them. And to hold their feet to the fire, to make sure they don't lie to you, or they don't make you a promise they can't keep, they're going to promise to pay liquidated damages if they don't make the hard start date. And they're guaranteeing a minimum payment to the city, and that minimum is equal to the amount that they said they would deliver annually. Does that make sense?
So in section 10 of the ordinance here, we'll add a fourth item, liquidated damages.
Yes. Yeah, you want to read something?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I've been taking notes, so if that's it in terms of proposed changes, I have some
Are there any
recommended changes.
other proposed changes?
No, but I want to make sure I understand what you're writing there is that the potential permittee can establish what it is that they're going to predict as their sales volume. And that they're also going to tell us the date on which they're going to begin their operation and collect sales tax. And that's solely up to them. They're going to make that prediction. We're not assigning any kind of figure on them. That's what they predict to do.
And we're going to hold their feet to the fire on those
And
predictions.
so they can tell us the date. Again, that's not up to us, that's up to them. And they can tell us what they believe to be their volume. The liquidated damage would be based on the fact of that amount that they promised to pay divided by 365 or because we're not open on Sunday.
Minus Sundays.
All right, minus Sundays, we're gonna take 52 days off 365, right? Divide that, and that'd be the number that they would be responsible for if they don't perform. Is it,
And based on that, we will evaluate the applications.
Right, and
Which
based
one's
on-
going to merit more than the other?
So it's a combination of bravado and reality for them. You know, everybody's going to want to be competitive, but they're going to have to take a hard look at what they think they can do and how fast they can do it.
So in case they kind of promise the moon to us,
Burn
we're going to
once,
hold them
right?
to it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, something we probably wish we'd have thought of this a year ago.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We're smarter
If
now.
we can just rewind it, you know.
I got one more thing also when we're done now.
Let me just finish. So, Mr. City Attorney, did you get the fourth item?
Yes, sir. So,
Okay, before we move forward.
So based upon that, the resolution that's within your council packet, which is resolution number
13.
Based upon the council's direction, would be amended as follows. In section 3, under definitions, the application fee would reference resolution number 19-15, which was being proposed to be adopted tonight. Based upon, this is number 14G, so that would cover the fees that Ms. Stover addressed. In addition to that, we would go to section 10.
Okay.
Under subsection A, we would remove the reference to within 18 months of filing the reconsideration application. So subsection A would simply read, evidence that a previous MCBP or MCBP renewal was denied by the city council, period.
Okay.
In subsection C, we would add language so that the entire subsection would read as follows, that a CUP remains in place for the location proposed to conduct commercial cannabis operations. This is the new language. And that the applicant currently possesses a valid MCBP.
Okay.
And we would add a new subsection F to read as follows. As to accelerated schedule for opening, the applicant will agree to pay the city liquidated damages for each calendar day after its scheduled opening date that it fails to be operating in accordance with its MCBP. Liquidated damages would be calculated based upon the projected cannabis tax revenue identified by the applicant, divided by the calendar days between the proposed opening date and December 31st that the applicant is approved to be open in accordance with its MCBP. And section 12, we would add the following language, or city council by minute order, so that the entire section would read as follows. MCBP applicants and MCBP renewal permittees must file an application with the city clerk's office by a time and date determined by the city manager or city council by minute order. And in section 17, in subsection A, we would remove the reference to within the previous 18 months.
What section again is that, the last one?
17.
17?
A. And that would,
Okay, all right.
that would complete my recommended changes.
Now, I'd like to clarify the calendar days for item 10F.
Yes.
So we need to take out Sundays.
Right, so that was the idea behind adding in the language stating that the applicant is approved to be open in accordance with its MCBP. There may be circumstances where it's not just Sundays, there may be other hours based upon its location or
Okay.
whatever occurs
So,
because of
because
the.
I don't want to
proration
unduly
is-
penalize them. If
Right.
they're
I
not going to be open, we don't expect any revenue coming from them.
Right, but the Sundays may not be the only date that it's not approved to be
Right,
open.
okay, that's clear. All right, good. Any other question on those
Mr.
changes?
Dunn,
Go ahead.
I have a different topic.
Oh, okay. Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm the new guy catching up fast, so, again, I think what I'm hearing is a fair process. Again, I mean, this is a dynamic process. Things are going to be changing down the road, too. So I think as we're fine-tuning this, and again, we had a process. We went, we've already seen a year's worth of nothing yet, and so with the fine-tuning, again, I think it's a fair competition, as was mentioned there, and I think we've tightened up on some things that really put these applicants to, to the T, that they're going to be upfront with us, and things are going to happen, not just, again, not going to be, hopefully not here next January and seeing nothing again. So I think we're going to, get some things rolling here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I think based on this, we'll see some money.
Yeah, that too. That was good.
Regardless.
That was good.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Coops.
so to staff, do we need any verbiage that describes if the permittee does not meet the goals that they've established, and we present them with an invoice that says you didn't make your mark? What could it be that when they come in to renew their license for the $25,000, that responsibility is added to that amount? And if so, does that need to be put into our language tonight?
Then it might be reason not to renew as well.
Right,
If
maybe
you
you say,
need to.
this didn't work out the way I
Yeah.
thought, I'm turning in
Yeah.
and I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say that your ultimate power is your ability to renew or not renew that license on an annual basis. If they're not performing or they're not paying, you certainly have the ability not to renew that license.
But I think it'd be prudent to establish how the responsibility will be
Correct.
met.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much sympathy or how much latitude the council's gonna give
We'll
somebody that
cross
wasn't
that bridge.
making
I
their,
hope
yeah,
they all
know.
make their mark and they all continue to operate, but how do you extract?
Right.
Yeah.
Blood out of turnip.
So, if I may, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in section 13, subsection B, that language is already basically there. It allows the city manager to consider whether permittees commenced operations as contemplated by the municipal code. So the commencing operations part was added into this by the city council into the municipal code, I think 2 years back, for this very purpose, and it required prepayment of anticipated tax revenue last year. And really the liquidated damages is a continuation of that policy, which is you're prepaying your tax obligations based upon your scheduled opening date. So the renewal applications can already be denied if the city manager determines before they even get to the city council that that applicant has not complied with its renewal obligations or its permit obligations. We can certainly tighten up the language if the council would like to. I'm comfortable enough with the broadness of this particular language, but it's certainly up to the city council.
I think there's enough teeth there in section 13B.
Well, especially,
Yeah.
especially if you formalize it further down, the liquidated damages, it makes it fair and equitable.
I just want to make sure the applicant is aware. And
Okay.
if they read the agreement, they will be aware.
I think that what we're gonna do is put out a email to all of them explaining exactly what it is with, bullet points explaining exactly what's expected.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members
Yes,
of the
Mr.
council, we would add into their standard conditions, you've agreed to open on such and such a date. If you fail to open on such and such a date pursuant to resolution number 19, whatever the new resolution number is going to be, 1916, I think is what the new number is going to be, you will be assessed liquidated damages of XYZ amount per day after that date up to December 31st. And if you fail to pay, remit them on a monthly basis, they will be collected at the time of your renewal application.
And the conditions will be signed and approved by them prior to you considering their applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other question?
Yeah, I'd like you to look in the staff report, section, well, it's both in section 17 and section 10, so you can just pick one of them, 17 or 10, whatever comes up. Item B. Yeah, I'm going to read it, that there are no material changes in the business structure, owner's financial status of the application set forth in the original MCBP or the MCBP renewal application. It appears that some entities have changed from profit to the state medical marijuana used to be co-ops when it first started, non-profit, where they got a bunch of medical cards and they did it that way, and then they went to profit. Well, there's some entities that's changed. They have their same corporation number, but the entity has changed from profit, and the state has allowed it from one to the other. And I think that should be more along the state line. As long as it has the same number, then it would be okay as an entity.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that will require change to the municipal code. The municipal code currently prohibits transfers in ownership We have consistently held the line that any change in name, corporate structure, is a transfer of ownership from one entity to another. So that's certainly up to the council if that's what you would like to do, but that would require a municipal code change, and we can certainly bring back an ordinance if that's something that you want to consider.
Has there any been change that we kind of revoke or not renew in the past?
Yes. And we have also, as council is aware, we have undertaken enforcement action against a former permittee for failing to disclose this type of change on their applications.
Okay. So something was done before already, okay.
It'd be difficult to amend that after we've already taken action to expel some.
Because we set some precedent already.
I think we're going to have to leave that one alone. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
We were at the renewal process, and I remember questioning one about their name and the name of the owner, and you know, just shortening up the name created a situation where it's like, who is actually? I really want to know who's going to be running that business, owns that business, runs that business, and if that's how we're going to prove it with that person, then it sticks with that person, you know, or group, whatever it may be. So, yeah, I think I'd like to hold on not, you know.
So just leave it alone?
Yeah, at this point.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Coops?
I'm good.
All right, Mr. Amada? All right. Did we capture all the changes? I believe.
We captured all the changes that I have in my notes.
All right.
I think we did.
I trust you. All right, let's hear from the public for any comments.
Gene Gonzalez.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So in December of 2017, when I applied under Calumet Co-op because that's the name that it was a cooperation. It was a nonprofit. In January 1st of 2018, the state changed it to you had to be for-profit, so co-ops were no longer existent. So when my application was submitted, it was under a co-op. The state changed the rules and said everyone that had a cooperative corporation had to change over for-profit. So the owners are still the same under the co-op and Calumet Incorporated. So it's the same entity, it's just not a nonprofit any longer. And that's why I've asked for that to be changed. The owners are still the same entity number, it's just not a co-op anymore. It's a profit corporation versus a nonprofit corporation.
Well, legally speaking, when you change from nonprofit to for-profit or vice versa, that's a change in the entity itself, in the structure, right? Can you confirm that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there was a change.
There was a change from profit to nonprofit, from nonprofit to profit.
Well, yeah. Actually, it was a change from Calumet Cooperative to Calumet Group, Inc.
Correct.
So those are two separate names. Those are two separate corporate structures. And, I mean, is this something you really want to go into public on? I got the whole chronology.
If we're going to finalize it today, then yes. Because
all right. Okay. Ms. City Clerk, why don't you place him under penalty of perjury, place him under oath?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in the matter pending before the City Council shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Correct. Yes, I do.
All right. All right. So, Mr. Gonzalez, the Calumet Cooperative received articles of corporation. They were accepted by the Secretary of State on 2/16/2017. On 10/10/2017, the Secretary of State accepted a Calumet Cooperative Corporation. On 12/18/2017, the resolution number 1785 was issued to Calumet Cooperative for a CUP. The city did not issue an MCBP. On 2/26/2018, Resolution 1805 adopted by the City Council allows for persons on the transfer list, which were all the people on the 12/18/2017 agenda, to apply for MCBP. Those persons are applicants listed, as I mentioned, in item number 5A on 12/18/2017. Applicants are those who received the CUP in December 2017, but not at MCBP. Section 8 requires applications to be signed under penalty of perjury and include the name of each applicant proposing to conduct a cannabis-related business. A copy of the applicant's articles of incorporation are required. On April 25th, 2018, Calumet Group, Inc. filed articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State. On 7/23/2018, an application was filed under penalty of perjury by you, I believe, that includes articles of incorporation for Calumet Cooperative from 2/16/2017. Calumet Cooperative didn't exist at that point. Resolution number 18-46C was issued to Calumet Cooperative for manufacturing MCBP on August 13th. On August 21st, we received a request from Calumet to be invoiced as Calumet Bellflower LLC, which is a subsidiary of Calumet, the parent company. On 8/22, an email came from the city to Calumet that the 8/21 request would constitute a prohibited transfer of ownership. Should I go on?
Those were things, when I applied under Calumet Co-op, and I continued the same application under the entity that was applied. My attorney changed it to a for-profit, and those are all documents that are filed by the state there. I'm not sure.
I'm giving you another chance not to go forward, but I can keep going if you'd like me to.
It was changed from a nonprofit to a profit corporation. That's the bottom line.
So do you want me to keep going? My suggestion is that you think about it and come into the city tomorrow. That's my suggestion.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
Mayor, I just have a confusing question in my own mind on this. What you're dealing with specifically is the licenses that have not been issued, let's say, the 4 or 5 or whatever it is. Am I correct?
Permits.
That's what you're...
Permits, yes.
Permits.
MCBP, so.
That's what you're discussing on.
Correct.
And that's where you're drawing all this, all these other items into so you don't get bamboozled again.
Cleanups.
Yes.
We're going to call them cleanups.
Does this have anything to do with if a person doesn't meet the time schedule, that it's not just that license that's revoked, but any other license that he has is revoked? Because by not meeting that schedule, that means he isn't doing any good on the other schedules, even if he is open, so he's bamboozled you again. So I would see if there's a way of putting it together of, if you're gonna take on an extra license or whatever you're gonna call it, you give us an opening date, that reflects also on any other licenses or permits, whatever you've got, whether it's growing, dispensary, whatever. So it shows a reflection on that too, because now if I lose one, I say, Bellflower, too bad, I'm still working on my other stuff, because that is, we've never drew a line as to finalizing it in the beginning, like was mentioned. If you get a license, you got 12 months to open up. Nothing's ever been put that way. It's been going on and ongoing, so you're a year and a half out now on money. Do you want to be another year and a half out on money? And then you got people coming in claiming that I filed under this name, but I changed it to that name, and I'm doing this name. So it's really getting to be a mess. Unfortunately, I think our group that we hired wasn't that good at formalizing it for us, unfortunately. We're all stepping into this in a hard way. But if we're gonna tighten things up, we need to tighten it up so it reflects against any license that's out there. Because you've got these people and nobody's opened yet. Not a single one. Why? Why can't something be added onto that? This is costing the taxpayers of this city a bunch of money that they don't have because they dropped the extra 2% on the utility users tax, figuring this was gonna take it over and compensate it. So if we're gonna listen to a bunch of crying hearts here, we've got the wrong people with the licenses to begin with. Bellflower's been bamboozled enough. It's time to draw the line.
Any other one who'd like to speak about this item? Any other comments? All right, moving along. So are we good with all the changes?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion to, what's the motion here? To provide the city manager recording implementation Title 14, including without limitation, implementing Resolution 19-13 as amended by the city attorney.
Did you say include 14G also?
And 14G.
Okay.
As amended by the city attorney and approved by the city council.
As amended by city attorney.
We're good.
Okay, will the motion will die?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna second it.
Okay.
I was just waiting for everybody else to.
Just checking.
Collect their thoughts.
He was watching us.
Yeah.
I thought the motion's gonna die.
They were still working on it.
Okay.
To give it life support.
I know.
Worked hard at that.
After the city attorney spending so much time with all these amendments. All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dutton?
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada?
Aye.
Councilmember Coops?
Aye.
Mayor Santenaz?
Aye. Okay, consent calendar. Oh, there you go, there it is.
Take me back.
You read my mind. Let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Garza is rejoining the city council
I'm
meeting.
sure you had fun listening to that, huh?
I was working.
All right. Anyone who'd like to recuse or pull on any item for separate vote or separate consideration or discussion?
I'd like to pull 14F just for informational purposes.
14F,
And I'd like to pull 14I for actual separate consideration. I have some questions for
separate
clarification.
vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Mr. Coops, any?
Yeah, 14F, I have a conflict because I have property that's on one of those thoroughfares, so I will not be participating in 14F.
Okay. Councilmember Hamada?
I had the 14I also.
14I, okay. That's it?
That's all.
Councilmember Dunn?
I'm good.
You're good? No recusals?
No recusals.
Okay, we're good.
Mr. Mayor, just right quick, on 14I, I still want to pull it, but it'll be informational only, not for a separate vote.
Not separate vote?
No.
How
No,
about
that's
you?
fine. That-
Okay,
I
all
had
right.
just a question.
Just to
quick
clarify.
So
Thank
let's,
you.
so if we talk about 14F first, Mr. Coops has to step out. Mr. Coops?
I just got here.
Sorry.
Shouldn't have told me.
I know. We want to do it right, okay? All right, Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask our staff about this project. I think it's pretty exciting, but I just wanted to share with the community about what this project is going to do in our community. So if you can just share, Mr. Gurecki, what has been
certainly.
proposed.
Honorable Mayor and council members, the project before you is the reconstruction and rehabilitation of Alondra and Bellflower Boulevard. It's a combination project that we're starting to utilize with the SB1 dollars as well as the Measure M and the gas tax dollars that have been, slowly coming our way and stuff. So we're seeing a little more funding. We're actually able to go after bigger chunks of roads to do, so we're now going to start addressing our arterial streets, our major streets. So the boundaries for this one reach from the San Gabriel River on Alondra Boulevard all the way west to Bellflower Boulevard. And then we'll be doing Bellflower Boulevard from Somerset all the way south down to Flora Vista right there by Omega Burger. So that will be the project area. Our on-call sidewalk contractor who's in town already, he's addressing all the concrete, curb and gutter issues, the ADA ramps that we have right there as part of his contract, and then we'll come through and do the rehabilitation of the road as part of this project right here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Gurecki. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just again, I wanted to share with the community, I think these are really exciting projects, especially with the popularity and lack of popularity of SB1 with some
Correct.
people, right? The fact that we're getting some return on investment, I appreciate that.
There will definitely be return on investment, and you'll start seeing it more and more on the arterials. So the arterial streets are so wide and big, and the traffic and everything, they're much more costly to do as opposed to local neighborhood streets on these projects. So with that infusion of money from both SB1 and Measure M, we'll be putting a lot of investment back into our arterial streets, which are long overdue.
Let me ask you just a quick question. Mr. City Attorney, it just came to me. I didn't think of it until right now. If I go straight here, let me know, please, if I shouldn't ask this question. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Pretty.
So earlier today, there was I'm just thinking of the geographic location of these projects, and earlier today there was comments made regarding Taco Now's in that area.
Yes.
So with this project being a part of that geographic area, would it make sense for us to consider additional funding to potentially put a barrier in the middle of that street to prevent people from crossing that? Just
Okay,
food for thought.
I'm jumping in now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the idea of putting barriers across streets, that is fraught with problems.
Okay.
If you like, for a future agenda, I can come back and list all of the legal problems with doing so. But I think the British term is the sticky wicket.
Yeah. And again, that's why you're here, and that's why I appreciate the council. So I wanted to share with the community this exciting project, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can someone get Mr. Coops?
Yeah, I know. I'm used to it. We go to consent, I come right to the podium.
All
We say
right,
the best for last.
Yeah.
14I, Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Okay, great. So on 14I, again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Gurecki. So on 14I, I know that we're going to be you're recommending the hiring of Muni Environmental to conduct a landfill auditing, which I think is a great idea. Just for purposes of sharing with our public, right now the way our city is evaluated based on our diversion rate is based off of the per capita, meaning per person creation of waste in our city. And so this audit, it's going to be, I think it's fantastic, like I said before, but can we get the, I'm not sure if it's part of the scope of the consultant that we're considering hiring, but if this is part of the scope, then great. If not, I just want to enumerate that I'm hoping that the consultant will be able to define the amount of waste that's being generated from our residents, meaning our residential.
Correct.
But I'm concerned about the fact that we may be getting hurt and our diversion rate affected by the creation of waste from other entities that are not our residents. Right now, we're evaluated by per resident waste. We have commercial establishments in our city, industrial establishments in our city, and that's not a knock, that's fine. I just want to know how much is coming from, how much waste is coming from those separated entities so that we can have a better, clear picture as to the effectiveness of our diversion programs in our city. Because if we continue to, my concern is that we continue to ask our residents to divert, and they're doing all they can, and the numbers show that. We may be getting penalized for not having effective diversion programs in the other two waste streams.
And that right there is the sole purpose of why we are doing this audit. So each year, we review the franchise agreement, or every other year, as we go through an audit, what CR&R is doing. What we don't do, or what we have not done yet, is actually audit the landfill. And it's very easy with handwritten tickets when you're at those gates to confuse Bellflower, Bell Gardens, private haulers, someone doing work at their house on the weekend, filling up a small, take behind the back of your truck and dropping the landfill off and everything. So there is a vast array of different issues that could be causing our numbers that are being reported to us to be as high as what they are right now. So now is the time to do this audit. So
Differentiate between residential and non-residential?
yeah,
Okay,
so
that's what it is.
what we'll do with the consultant is break it down based on residential, commercial, industrial, what's green waste, what's recyclable, what is just good old garbage. We'll work with them. It's not actually in the scope. I took a look at the scope a little earlier, but it will be our instruction. That's how we want to see the final report given back to us, and we'll get him to break it down as best as he possibly can.
Perfect, thank you. I really appreciate that. Just again, for purposes of educating the public, in the waste industry, the way it works is you have a truck that goes by your home and picks up your trash. As that truck is filling up, once it fills up, that truck goes to the landfill. As Mr. Gorecki pointed out, that truck driver will hand a ticket to a person at the entry gate, identify themselves, the truck number, the tonnage that they're carrying, right, which is the weight thing that we're talking about here, but also what type of waste they're carrying, whether it's residential or commercial, but also the city that they're bringing trash from.
Correct.
And if that person at that entry gate makes a mistake and links our trash, or links somebody else's trash to our city, that's an issue. And sometimes, because of the fact that we have Bell in the name of our city, that could be an issue where we're being tagged with the City of Bell's trash, or City of Bell Gardens trash. We don't know, right? And so, again, I commend you for this audit. I just wanted to enumerate these things as a request, so thank you. I appreciate that you pointed that out to the consultant.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that completes my questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Hamada?
Yes, Len, thank you. Just a quick question. This is more for education. Again, I was alarmed by the discrepancy of the numbers, of course. And what's the, when do we find out of the numbers? Like, I mean, do we know monthly, or do we wait for the entire year to pass and then the entire year?
Yeah, Bernie's a little more.
I heard that. I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a little more well-versed on
Yeah.
the monthly numbers and how they're reported to us and everything, so I'll ask him to fill in a little bit.
Yes, council member, there is a lag, hence why we are always almost a year in arrears in reporting. It takes the disposal reporting system time to tabulate and then actually furnish the jurisdictions with those numbers. That's why what we find out at the tail end, what those numbers are being reported as.
A state thing, huh?
The state, correct.
Yeah. All right, because, again, I was thinking, oh, maybe we knew in July, but no, we don't.
Correct.
It'll be into this new year when we find out what's the final number for 18. Yeah.
Correct. So come October, we'll actually be doing the 2018 annual report. Again, almost a year in arrears.
Okay, thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Lon.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coops?
I got trash questions too.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I'm going to talk trash. Several years ago, it was discovered that CR&R was taking our trash to places, landfills, other than were described in the contract. And they were taken to places where it was actually cheaper for them to dump there than where they had indicated they were going to go. I think in the contract, and it may still be there, every year they're responsible for $50,000 a year payment to the city to pay for an audit. Is that,
It's every other year.
every other year?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
every
still the
other year.
program?
Yeah, and it's 30, right?
30,
Is it 30
50,
or
what is it?
It's 55 adjusted for CPI,
Okay,
but the actual costs have been less than that through the consultant.
okay. So who conducts that audit? The same Mr. Duhamel?
Yeah, Muni we, well, in the
Not,
past.
not all the time.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it was HF&H, and then it,
Correct.
yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, we switched over to Muni Environmental.
Correct, so Muni has conducted the last 2 audits, biannual audits.
Because it turned out that they actually gave us a rebate where we reduced trash bills to the constituents for a short amount of time to make up for the time that they had gotten the discount on their dump fees. Do you remember that? Or maybe that, maybe your predecessor was here. You just nod with me, yeah, that's okay.
No, it was a good day. Yeah, it's-
So this is a different kind of audit, though.
That is correct, and the biannual audits are on the contract itself and CRNR's actual reports and numbers. This is on the actual landfills,
Okay.
which will tell us information other than CRNR's tonnages.
So for $10,000, we're looking for, that seems like a bargain for what our expectation is of what, you know what I'm saying, what $10,000 buys in city
Correct.
government is not much,
Right.
in my view.
This will be a quick forensic audit of all the reports themselves.
All right, so he's going basically through paperwork to see, it didn't say Beverly Hills or Bellflower or
Correct.
whatever
A
it
lot of
says,
legwork,
okay.
paperwork.
And he's making sure that trucks aren't going multiple locations and dumping on behalf of the city or another city or something like that. We're just gonna keep it all straight. It's a good housekeeping item to do.
Now, Mr. Duhamel, how many contracts does he have with us? And I know he's kind of our trash guru, isn't he?
3 or 4.
3 or 4, so
Yeah.
we're just adding this to the list
Yeah.
of things he does.
So he does the audits for us.
Yeah, it's done
and-
through, yeah.
And then he's doing this landfill audit for us as well, so.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yep.
All right, are we done with trash? No, not yet. Speaking of trash, the contract with CRN is going to expire in August of 2021.
Correct.
So you expect us to talk more about trash
We're gonna talk
going forward?
We're gonna talk a lot more about trash going
Okay,
forward. yeah.
all right, just to alert you on that. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move it. Second it.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Garza, second by Councilmember Dunn to approve the consent calendar. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Aye.
Councilmember Dutton.
Aye.
Councilmember Hamada.
Aye.
Councilmember Coops.
Aye.
Mayor Santenaz.
Aye. Council reports, Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
I'll try to make these quick. I have 4 of them. First, on the 12th of February, our mayor, our city manager, Joel Hockman, our public safety director, and Randy Stover, along with Chrissy from KCB, we all did a field trip over to Whittier First Day. It was a homeless informational tour. Fantastic. It was really informative, educational, so I just want to thank everyone involved in that and putting that together. On the 13th of February, I attended, on behalf of our city, our last Eco-Rapid meeting. I absolutely ensured that when I left that meeting that all the cities and all the stakeholders that are part of that group knew that the city of Bellflower was committed to this Metro Light Rail project that's going to come through our city, and then we're still here working collaboratively with them. Third, on the 19th of February, I attended, Congresswoman Linda Sanchez has I think it's like every 6 months that she holds an informational meeting for the cities that are within her jurisdiction, congressional district. So I attended on behalf of our city. Of note, she mentioned that there's one of the bills that's gaining a lot of traction in Washington right now of interest to a city like ours is an infrastructure bill. Really wide-ranging, wide scope. And so I absolutely mentioned a lot of our projects that Len mentioned today in terms of road surfacing, and also mentioned our light rail project. And so she made sure to make my comments on that. Interestingly, I'm going to be in Washington in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to have another meeting with her at that point. And then lastly, that same day on the 14th of February, that was another day. The 14th of February, I had a meeting with the representatives of the Southern California Air Quality Management District regarding their upcoming efforts to potentially enact a sales tax upon their 4-county region that they conduct their quality monitoring over, regulation. And I know that Councilmember Dutton was really good in their discussion at the COG on that. So I just basically took your lead, and I had a nice discussion with them here at the local level, and I can assure you that they have our full attention. So it's going to be a battle that we're going to start monitoring in Sacramento. Obviously, as cities, I think we have a vested interest in ensuring that that people stick to the jurisdictions, and in this case, we believe it's not. So I just wanted to share that with you. I will keep you apprised of those efforts that happen in Sacramento. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Garza. Councilmember Ray Dutton.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Councilmember Garza said, with the AQMD coming after your wallet and the sales tax in this initiative, or any other tax, they actually have to get permission from Sacramento to change it to a taxing entity. I forget the words. So it's a two-step process. I think they found out that they just couldn't put something on the ballot or to do that, and then someone told them, but they got to get someone to carry the bill. And so far, they haven't been able to do that, so we may be able to buy some time, put heat on them, and it's kind of what we've been doing. Yeah.
Actually, they did. They found somebody.
They found somebody? Okay.
They did.
Yeah. I had a run in it before Mr. Garza did, and they got someone to carry the bill.
So we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they scaled it back, but yeah,
they got to work it. They just got to get their votes, but at least it's going through. But it's a process, but they'll be coming to the sales tax revenue. With that, just want to make an announcement. Construction has started on Bellflower Boulevard south of the 91 freeway. They've been closing a lane all day this week. Now the rain's gone, so it's going to be a mess down there for the next 5 months. And that's all I got to say.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Hamada.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned earlier in the evening, I did attend the State of the Business Improvement District of the Bixby Knolls area. And again, if you've heard that the Long Beach Petroleum Club is going to be closing down. So if you haven't been to that place, it's a neat establishment, and the word is that they're going to close it. So, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of history. But there was some great information. The executive director, who's also on the Economic Development Commission for Long Beach, definitely invited Bellflower to look into a bid, and he's open to having a discussion with us. The Bixby Knolls area bid has been nationally recognized, and so he's just full of enthusiasm, and he's definitely has the passion for it, and he's got some great ideas. So last Saturday, I enjoyed the opening day of the Greater Bellflower Little League. So I had a fun morning with Mickey Hatcher, former Dodger, and I definitely congratulated the league. Again, they had all their championship banners on the fence, and I told the president that they need more fence area, because it's definitely a very successful program. And the only thing I also wish for is, I mean, aside from getting more banners, is to have the Dodgers bring a world championship to LA. So yeah, Mickey enjoyed that. He agreed with that finally. So, but I do want to. I have a little bit of an interest in that league. My grandson is a rookie in that league, so
That's good.
I'm going to congratulate him, and so he's going to start playing ball. So I definitely enjoyed it. And again, it's a great program for not only for boys and girls, for again baseball and softball. So, all right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hamada. Councilmember Coops.
To piggyback on the Little League thing, I actually played in that Little League in 1959 with Abner Doubleday. I mean, I go way back with some of the things in Bellflower. We played with a square ball, and But
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's a great organization that has been around as long as anybody can remember. And they've gotten better, and last, 600 kids participate in that?
Yeah, quite, it was well attended, yeah. Probably, there was at least 800 people there, easy.
Right, so there's 200 grandparents and parents
Yeah,
and 600 children, so.
Yeah.
But keep your eye, as Mr. Dutton mentioned, that the 91 freeway at Bellflower Boulevard is going to get a little tense because we're widening the street down there. But instead, go down to the other end of Bellflower where you'll see the improvements being made at the corner of Oak and Bellflower Boulevard for Steelcraft. Now, they were supposed to open January 30. They didn't indicate what year, but because we seem to have passed that date. But they continue to work at it. And have they, Mr. Stewart, have they indicated another date that
They don't want to anymore.
Mr. DeLong is saying mid-March now, right? Yeah.
Of this year?
Yeah. Of 2019, yes.
Yeah.
That's 2
Or
weeks.
for early April.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, we're in the running.
Rains didn't help.
I think the smart thing to do is
I think
don't give any date anymore.
April 20th.
But they're actually doing some work there. I think the rain did slow them down a little bit.
Yeah.
And, but you can see construction going on there every day. And I guess they got a more secure security guard there based on the Carla Mitchell story of last week. So I haven't heard any more concerns for that. But that'll be exciting when we get foot traffic going on the boulevard to witness the things going on at Steelcraft. And they're also working on the building, what once was called J.C. Penney. There's a sign out in front that says The Exchange. And City Council took a tour of that here about a month ago, where it's totally hollowed out, and it's a massive building. There's 3 stories. There's the mezzanine, if you can remember, where the men's suits were, and then there's a story above that where the Steelcraft people are going to have their corporate headquarters. So I'm just glad that we have a report tonight. I have no obituaries to mention. Everybody's alive this week in Bellflower. And so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Coops. Speaking of construction, I understand that the parking structure, they're going to start putting the concrete piers in the next day or 2. So that will basically start the construction of the parking structure. So there's so much construction going on in Bellflower, so we'll keep you posted. Speaking of collaboration, I spoke before the City Council of Paramount as the Vice Chair of the Southeast Los Angeles County, the Workforce Policy Board, and Paramount would like to join the Celaco Web. So we're supporting them, and the next council meeting, I'm proposing that our City Council adopt a resolution to support their joining us, because this will be a great collaboration for the community. Right now, the member cities of this group is composed of Artesia, Bellflower, Cerritos, Downey, Hawaiian Gardens, Lakewood, and Norwalk. So by adding Paramount, it's going to be a big thing because with the population of Paramount, we will exceed the threshold of 500,000 population. So that's great. That will make us even a stronger development board. So we'll keep you posted. So with that, we're adjourning this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Bellflower City Council at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, March 11, 2019. This meeting is adjourned at 9:34.